Welcome to the Quantum Collective. Ember Twilight is a neat little bespoke system from my home state of Indiana. Straight out of the early oddies from, as you can see here, Twilight Press. I'm gonna flip to the first page and blur some of this, but someone bought this for their kids in Christmas of 2003, I guess. So they bought this when it was brand new, and then I picked it up from Half Price Books. I believe it's hyper local. I have not looked up every single person, but I've looked up a couple. Some of them still live here in Indiana. Do not go harass people that you see on the internet. Nice detailed table of contents, standard 2-column layout with the fancy first letters, a lot of rules, a lot, percentage multipliers, some decent artwork, surprisingly, for something that's so hyper local. And I'm always drawn to this kind of thing. I never heard of it before, and it was there, and it looked old, so I got it. Anyway, Ember Twilight is a settingless fantasy role-playing game, but it's meant to be used with the only other product they made, Ember World, a campaign setting for the Ember Twilight system. Again, Christmas purchase. Oh, hey. Still has the Ember Twilight Press bookmark in it. I don't know if this ever saw use, and that's kind of sad. Pretty much the same list of people. An even more detailed table of contents. Like, it goes into every single nation in this world. The previous book was just the headings. This is like headings and subheadings and shit. To the Ember World Core Rulebook. Surely that's not in here. 205? Let's flip forward. Holy shit. What do I see here? New races and professions. So not only is this a setting book, but it's also additional player-facing rules. I admit I have mostly spent my time in Ember Twilight. I have not read the setting book. But I see that it's a nice big in-universe fictional intro and some maps such as they are, so I might have to fast-track this. You've got your own year system and shit. I see mentions of a great lesson. They spent a lot of time coming up with the backstory to this world, and it always sucks to put that much time in and then have nobody appreciate it. I have a script. I'm kind of going off of it right now, just to kind of show this off. I do not like that everything in the first half of this book seems to be bold, but that's fine. That's my only quibble. I really appreciate stuff like this. Some of that's a little hard to read, but again, that's fine. Anyway, there is a character creation checklist in Ember Twilight, but it's out of order. Professions have stat requirements, and races have preferred professions. So we'll just completely fuck up the checklist to our own liking. We start off by rolling 8d100 and dropping the lowest. This was a dumb fucking way to do it, and I saw you cheat. Add that 24 back to your sheet and remove the 100, asshole. Ooh, one stat above 60. This bodes well. There are 3 classes, but they don't mean much, and 11 professions to choose from. Under Warrior, we have Fighter, with a minimum strength of 70, Archer with a minimum dexterity of 60, Ranger with a minimum dexterity of 60 and minimum fortitude of 70, and Paladin with a minimum strength of 70, intuition of 70, and willpower of 70. For spellcasters, we have the Cleric with a minimum intuition of 70 and presence of 70, Druid with a minimum intuition of 70 and will of 75, Healer with a minimum intuition of 70, and Essence Binder with a minimum logic of 70. We round out our classes with the Artisans, of which we have Thief with a minimum dexterity of 60, Scout with a minimum dexterity of 60 and minimum intuition of 70, and the Bard with a minimum dexterity of 60, minimum logic of 70, and minimum presence of 70. Ember World introduces a number of professions that we are mostly not going to talk about. Most of them just have higher prerequisites: Mage Hunter, Dervish, Templar, Necromancer, and Assassin. Of note, the Templar has minimum stats of up to 81, which is a massive increase over what's in the base book. I said earlier that it would be fun having one attribute above 50. Ours is 90, so we can hit any one prerequisite. As you can see, there's a lot of red on here. I marked the highest prerequisite we could meet in green, and then everything else in red because we're not gonna make it. As such, with our 90 free floating, we can be a fighter, archer, healer, essence binder, or thief. If we want to dive into Ember World, we could be a necromancer or something else. It doesn't matter, because we're gonna try to be simple and be a fighter. Our highest roll gets placed into strength, and the rest is gonna go wherever feels appropriate. It's mostly not going to matter, because most of our other stats are in the same general ballpark. We've got our stats and determined what class we are going to pick later. Now we'll nab a few modifiers from each stat and never think of them again. All stats give a percent modifier and several other modifiers unique to that stat. Strength modifies your damage, weight allowance, and maximum lift. Dexterity gives us an initiative modifier and our movement speed in feet per round. Fortitude gives us a hit point modifier, and it gives us our healing rate. Logic nets us a modifier to magic points, which we are never going to use, and bonus languages. Intuition gets us some bonus skills and bonus spells. Will gives us a modifier to our spell initiative and some spell immunities. And finally, presence gives us a character point and wealth modifier. We'll throw all of those numbers on our character sheet. The percent value that each stat has is the base chance for each of our skills and I'm sure it will be used in other places. Been going through this book. I thought we'd check it out live, because just listening to me talk is boring. I think we left off on the race section. Yeah, we need to choose a race. We have, I don't know how well this is showing up, but we have high elves, we have sylvan elves, half elves, humans, we have sylvan elves, half elves, humans, they are generally restlessly obsessed with doing the impossible and so deep into the world's crust. What the fuck is this? Hell is going on? Let's take a look. It's the Home of Ember Twilight role-playing. Cool. Links, back search, contact us, downloads. Hey, corrections. All right. In that case, we have high elves, sylvan elves, half elves, humans, great men, great dwarves, and red dwarves, half dwarves, ogres, halflings, and gnomes. Cool, cool, cool. Glad we got that figured out, huh? Since we've never played Ember Twilight before, we're just going to do the simple thing and choose human. They have absolutely no modifiers whatsoever. So what we rolled is what we've got. They have no preferred professions, so we can pick whatever we are qualified for. What they do have is the most character points of any race, 40. We'll note that down and use those 40 points to the best of our ability later. We are finally getting to our profession. Professions don't give you a lot. Most of your stuff is based on rolls we've already made or the character points and skill points we will be spending in the future. What it does give us is the ability to wear any type of armor, from heavy plate to soft leather. We can attack twice per round at half the penalty that non-fighters suffer until level 30, when that penalty goes away. We get a 1% plus 1% per level profession bonus to all combat skills, minus those involving missile weapons. We get halved penalties for Florentine fighting style, read 2-weapon fighting, till those go away at level 20, and that's about it. We can't learn spells, and we have a penalty to using missile weapons till we've spent either 3 levels using one as our main weapon, or 4 levels as a secondary weapon. Neat. Moving on, skills. This is a little silly. The skill section of our character sheet is blank, and the first step in the skill section is write down all of the standard skills. Everyone has to do this, so it could just be printed on the sheet already. Hit points and hit points per body location and mana points are in this section, so we'll be revisiting those a bit later. All characters can speak their native language at level 5 and the common language at level 4. Level 1 represents like basic concepts such as food or shelter. I guess you can extrapolate from there. I will consult Ember World and see what the world's languages are, just because whatever, but we'll note those now. The next section, character advancement, is a big one. As a starting character, we'll go through an apprenticeship. And as a fighter, this nets us a number of advancement points: 5 combat, 4 physical, 3 subterfuge, 0 magic, and 2 miscellaneous. These must be used on skills in the same category. In the future, we'll get 10 generic action points per level, and can consult the AP usage chart to determine how we want to spend them, or if we have any left over, we can save them for a rainy day. To start off, I think we'll blow all of our combat AP on 3 degrees of the longsword skill. I would normally want to be more well-rounded with degrees in missile weapons, but ain't nobody got time for those penalties. I would also buy a shield skill, but that's not a thing in this game. Shields just add to your defense percentage and give initiative penalties for all but bucklers. With our 4 physical AP, we'll snag 1 degree each in balance, dodging, endurance, and perception. We only have 3 subterfuge AP, but nothing really stands out as super necessary. Most of them use stats that we're not great at. We'll blow all 3 on 2 degrees of stalking. Finally, 2 miscellaneous advancement points. There are only 2 miscellaneous skills: hit points and mana points. There are special rules here as well. You can always buy them at 1 point per 1 level. Mana is completely worthless for us, so we'll snag 2 additional hit points. After selecting all of our skills, we move on to the background chapter. This is made up of a number of features that we can buy with our starting character points. Personality/demeanor and ethics selections, and a final roll on the starting cash table. We've got 40 character points plus a bonus based on presence, so 40, since our modifier is 0. I seem to recall seeing many references to bleeding during my skim of the rules, so we'll take thick blood for 5. That reduces the amount of time that your character is bleeding. We'll take quick reflexes, which lets us act quicker, for another 10. Firm grip makes our fumbles slightly better for 5. I seem to recall a good number of the fumbles resulting in you losing your weapon. And we'll take lightning reflexes for 20, giving us a bonus to a host of combat and physical skills, mostly involving dexterity, but it'll apply to our longsword skill as well. We could have bumped any stat up by 2 for 10 points, but that wouldn't get us much. None of our stats are close to the point that this would allow us access to a different profession. We're kind of a one-track individual, relying mostly on our strength and having middling mental defenses. Perusing the list of suggested adjectives for inspiration, I think we're a generally gregarious individual who knows what they're good at and fiercely loyal to our friends, who may or may not make up for those weaknesses. Maybe I'll add a new adjective to the list: hembo. All of the example ethics are kind of dookie. I'll go with a modified hedonist, leaning heavily on the clause that says no one follows their personal values 100% of the time. In the book, a person with the hedonist code of ethics believes that the meaning of life is experiencing pleasure and will do almost anything to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Under my modified hedonist, air quotes implied, my character will seek to reduce pain, thus allowing others the potential to experience more pleasure. Sometimes that pain reduction has to occur through directed violence. Finally, wealth. 1d100, we get an 84. 5 gold pieces, 30 silver pieces, 60 bronze pieces, 100 copper pieces, I guess. Feels weird to roll and then take the entire line, but 1, it doesn't tell me to roll for each currency unit, and 2, unlike, say, Warhammer Fantasy, your starting currency does not appear to be tied to your starting status. So as GM, we're running with it. The final section is equipment. Characters begin with a change of clothing, 2 weeks of rations, a full water skin, a weapon/sheath of choice, and the money they rolled on the wealth chart. We'll start with a free 150 silver piece longsword. The really nice weapons are also really expensive. A dagger or something to that effect would be on the order of single digit to tens of silver pieces, maybe. So we'll just go with the one weapon for now. Finally, we'll pick up a full set of soft leather armor for 75 silver pieces, leaving us with 5 silver, 60 bronze, and 100 copper, with which I will buy a selection of adventuring supplies off camera. We have 2 final things. Well, 1. We don't need to determine our mana points because we actually cannot use them. So all we have to do is figure up our hit points. To determine our hit points, it's 2d6 plus 2 plus our hit point modifier. And then we do a bunch of math based on that total for each of our extremities and our torso. I guess we also add in hit point skill ranks, of which I believe we have 2 or 3. So we'll show that total now. And our character, Brendan, is complete. If you want to read our full vitals sheet, you can pause here. If you want to see all of our equipment, you can pause here. And now I know you're itching to see some mechanics. Tune in next time where we do this whole ass thing 2 more times to make us some opponents. Just kidding, we'll probably pull some goblins out of the monster section. See ya.